Well, hi and hello to all the popcorn talkers out there, and welcome to Second Way to Kill a Werewolf. Another episode, in fact. My name is Damien, and with me, as always, is my co host, Matthias, FIFA World Cup Rodriguez. Matthias, you may be wondering why I said that one with a little bit more confidence. Well, it's because, as you're aware, this is our second take doing this because sometimes, even in the future, nothing works. But that said, we worked out the kinks, we got it going again, and how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing very, very, very fine. But as you are well aware as well too, there was quite a dramatic loss yesterday in a FIFA World Cup match. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Damien?
You said you weren't going to bring this up. Yes, I'm very well aware of what you were talking about, man. And unfortunately, yes, Mexico was eliminated at the time of this recording. It was a tough loss. It really was. I'm going for them, and I'm going for US, of course. But it was, I secretly, I just, I liked to go for the underdog, and I don't know very much about soccer, so I could be completely wrong on this, but Mexico just seemed to me as a whole like they were the underdogs in this, and it would have been great to see them go a little bit further, maybe at least make it past England. That would have been great because I would have loved to see them play Norway. Hashtag go Norway now against England. Avenge us. I say that, in the US is playing actually today. So I'm hoping the US pulls out a victory as well. But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. It's still part of the process. I have learned to accept that. I'm not a novice when it comes to watching your team lose, unfortunately. I'm not going to bring up a little incident that happened in the past just recently in 2026. Knicks suck. Um, I'm not bitter. I'm excited though right now. I'm getting ready. We're gonna watch the game tonight. The US take on Belgium, which should be a good game. Hopefully the US can make it to the next round. But yeah, I'm guessing you caught the game as well.
Yeah, and I was also sad as well too because I was really pulling for Mexico, obviously as a team. Getting to play on their home turf. Having the fans being all riled up and all that stuff, and just that energy I felt was
Mhm.
really going to take them over the top. And unfortunately, these things, aren't always a Cinderella story. It's quite the opposite sometimes. Sometimes it's a horror movie of epic proportions. So,
Yeah,
congratulations, England. They, just played a little bit better, and
yeah,
we'll see what happens to them against Norway, at a later date. So, we'll see.
yeah. That's gonna be an interesting game. I'm interested. It's an interesting game, so I'm interested. Duh, right? But no, yeah, I am. I think it's gonna be a great rest of the series. Still looking forward to seeing some good soccer games ahead. But that said, if this is your first time joining us, no, we are not a podcast dedicated to sports or for specifically soccer in this matter. Because if we were, this would be the suckiest podcast ever, and we probably wouldn't even have that one listener that we have right now. Uh, Zero listeners. Okay, I'm sorry I lost you. I shouldn't have talked about the World Cup so long as I did. But no, seriously, if this is your first time joining us, let me tell you a little bit about what to expect from our little podcast here. We are a podcast that's dedicated to covering all things pop culture and movies, TV shows, and pretty much anything that's streaming that grabs our attention. Throughout the show, we'll bring up some topics, lend our voices to opinions, and hopefully that will lead to engaging with you all in the future on our social media platform on Instagram and TikTok at Second Way to Kill a Werewolf, and also YouTube, where we invite you to post any comments or questions that you may have about the show. Also, if you happen to be listening to this right now on Spotify or on YouTube, hit like and subscribe, give us a 5-star review, because you know what? We want to hear the voices of the Second Way listeners. Now, with all of that out of the way, Matthias, I have a question for you. What have you been watching lately?
What have I been watching? Well, aside from World Cup matches, of course, I've
Of
also
course.
been kind of been placed in the mood as well of like kind of getting into Argentine like television shows and
Oh,
movies
nice.
and stuff. So there's this one cool series that I found out that's on Netflix called División Palermo, which is about essentially a story of this special police squad in Argentina that was created to sort of like really elevate the public image of the police there. So what they do is that they hire a whole bunch of like people that are, you know, different different ableisms and different races and different all stuff. So pretty much just kind of like creating like this sort of like web of diversity and all stuff. But
Hmm,
the I guess best comparison that I can make of that series is that it's almost like a mix of Reno 911 in terms of it being kind of like, crass and kind of, funny in a way. And then
nice.
also a little bit like Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well too. So kind of like a mix of those two series, but it's really interesting. There's a lot of uh, Argentine slang and sort of like only things that people like that grew up or were from Argentina that kind of understood. But I like the series just overall. It's very funny and just a good like laugh, honestly. Like in between the dramatic matches that we've had so far, this is a real good icebreaker to kind of like really get me back to in a laughing mood, I guess you could say. But no, that's what I've been watching. Yeah, it's on Netflix. There's 2 seasons. I think they were in the process of maybe going to a 3rd season, but I
Hmm,
don't know anything else beyond that there. But no, it's a good little show.
that's pretty cool. Is this are we talking like 30 minutes episodes or like 45?
Yeah, 30
30.
to 40 essentially, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering what that would be because I feel like right around sitcom time structure would be something that works pretty well for this. But I mean, if they have the creativity and everything to make a 40 45 minute, then by all means. But that sounds cool. That sounds cool. I'm guessing. Okay, you said Argentinian, so I'm gonna guess in Spanish. Yes,
Yeah, so
obviously.
Spanish
Out of the
only, yeah. Well, I mean,
yes.
obviously they have like an English dub and all that stuff there and like subtitles, but yeah, primarily Argentine Spanish, so yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Well, as for me, I finally got around to seeing a little movie called Obsession,
about
and
time.
it was good. It was a very good movie. I have to admit though, I'm not well, I guess I know how it did because and correct me if I'm wrong. Was this I know well, Curry Barker is the one that directed this one, but Blake Parsons is the one who directed Backrooms, correct?
Blake Parsons?
Is it Blake Parsons?
No, it's Kane Parsons.
I don't know why I said Blake. Kane Parsons. So Kane Parsons is the one that directed Backrooms, and that already had kind of this built-in audience and whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh, was that somewhat of the same case for Obsession? Was this something that was also based in a previous YouTube series? I don't know if you're aware or not. I'm just
Nah.
random.
No,
No, right?
Obsession is definitely it's all original story.
Okay, okay. So that said, I'm kind of I don't know how this thing just I mean, it's a great movie, don't get me wrong, but to have the amount of growth that it had, I was just like, wow, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. Like, not to say that it wasn't a good movie because it really was. It was a great idea. It's one of those that you can go back and probably catch something that you missed the first time or interpret something differently than maybe what you interpreted the first time. I don't know. I've only seen it the one time, but at the same time, it's one of those horror movies that I wouldn't mind putting on again. Maybe not again and again, because then, that's just weird, but especially like in one day. How many times can I watch Obsession? Not just a clever name, apparently. It's it's a really good movie though. It's a good idea. They were able to take that whole monkey paw type wish situation and be able to reinterpret it in a different way and involve what you're sure of is a body that's pretty much been inhabited or taken over in some way, shape, or form, but not in the sense that it's a demonic type possession, like similar to Smile. So it was kind of running parallel to Smile, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying this is fact or proven or whatever, just my opinion. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Smile in some aspects, in that sense. Like, I mean, obviously an entity kind of taking over, but it was done in a different way that didn't really make you automatically associate it with like a possession type of movie.
Hmm.
I know you saw this one as well. What was your opinion on it?
Oh man, I love the movie, and I think the reason why I love that movie so much, honestly, it's that it felt like a breath of fresh air at a time where there were so many other movies that were coming out that were kind of just like continuations of an existing series or just another like hero movie or something like that. And I
Mhm.
think it falls into that whole aspect of it being a film that just seems so curated and so expertly done. Like, I feel like with Curry Barker, like, everything that he achieved in that film is, like, that's 100% him. Like, he was very deliberate in how he wanted it to be lit, how he wanted it to have this cast of characters, that he wanted, like, this level of dialogue and stuff like that. Like, everything feels like this is directly from him, and it feels very much like a passion project for him.
Mhm.
And all of those elements together definitely speak towards a very well refined film that it doesn't seem like it overstates its welcome. It gives itself to its concept to where it gives you enough of that context of like how the One Wish Willow works, but it doesn't overly explain everything and try to say like, oh, well, this thing, exists because of this thing or XYZ, or it comes from space, or it doesn't try to give an explanation. It allows itself to exist within its world and for you to kind of think of your own theories of like, okay, well, how does it work or what really is it?
Mhm.
And I think that's what I enjoy is that it is one of those films that it doesn't sort of insult its audience. It just lets it kind of breathe and it lets you to kind of just develop your own theories and just kind of develop its own ecosystem. A lot of my friends, talk about this film in the same fashion of like it's one of those two where everybody has their own theory or has their own sort of idea of like the One Wish Willow and like how it's a good thing, how it's a bad thing, and
Mhm.
that's what I like. If films are able to sort of invoke that type of dialogue and that sort of like thought process, I think you got something right there that's 100% like clever and yeah, I think it's part of that it was just a good, well-made film, and also word of mouth. People have we're talking about this again and again and again, and it's well deserved. So for
For
me,
sure.
100%. Like, yeah, it's a really great film. I enjoyed it. Definitely want to kind of watch it again here, especially now that I have like the access to like subtitles. Because sometimes it's a little hard to understand people like in the theater
For sure.
there. But yeah, I definitely want to give it another watch and yeah, well done, Curry Barker. I'm curious to see what else he does.
Yeah, yeah. From what I understand, and maybe this is just rumors and whatnot, his other movie that's he's going to be doing pretty soon, I think he said, I think it's called Anything But Ghosts, is supposed to take place within the world of Obsession. I don't know if that's a proven thing. That's just something I kind of came across. It's just
Mhm,
rumors and hearsay. Um, but if they do go that route, it's one of two things. Number one, I think it's pretty cool because you are probably thinking long term. And with the success that Obsession brought in, I think that that's a good move because you're expanding on this world. And right now, that's what's in right now for movies
mhm,
and uh, franchises and whatnot. Is you can have a franchise, but if it's all set within the same world of, or you can have spin-offs that are kind of still tied to the same world, but not a direct sequel kind of keeps the audience interested to be able to take the foundation that was built in Obsession and just kind of go towards the other one. Not saying that the other one needed his next movie needed that type of launch pad, but I mean, I think it's a good idea. But on the other hand, is it though? Because and I know I'm kind of playing both sides here, but because do you really want to go into this and solidify yourself and bury yourself in this type of a world development franchise, setup or not franchise? Well, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a spinoff, but still loosely tied into the events of that took place in your biggest hit. Are you kind of running the risk of fizzling out eventually and not being able to come up with a good idea later? And I don't mean this in a bad way, but and this isn't the same thing that happened to to Jordan Peele. His first movie, Get Out, was a hit, an amazing hit. So much so that he was automatically proclaimed as the next king of horror. I, for one, thought that that was a little bit too soon, a little bit too quick. But then I saw the movie Us, and I know that one, for whatever reason, didn't get a lot of good feedback. I like that one. I That's actually one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite one that he's done. Although Get Out was really, really good, and it was the originality of it that really took me in. But Us, I don't know what it was, something about it that just I enjoyed. The dad was great in that movie. He just like his jokes and everything. I don't know. They were just perfectly timed. So I liked the humor. I liked that he was able to kind of be the comedic relief, but at the same time, there were high stakes in that situation. Lupita Nyong'o, I mean, need I say more? Amazing performance. The kids did great. Everything just worked really well for us. And then, unfortunately, since that one, some would say since Get Out, it's been a little he's kind of fizzled out a little bit, and I think that he's at the point right now in his career. I'm not saying he's in trouble or anything like that, but he needs a big hit. to kind of keep his name in there, especially with the rise of these up and coming directors that are so young and are fueled with these, like I said, already baked in audiences with their previous IP in YouTube. So I don't know. What's your opinion on his next move, Curry Barker? And for those of you that are wondering why we're dragging this segment on a little bit longer, is because the next topic actually is kind of related to this. So, what's your opinion on this, Matthias? Do you think that Curry Barker has a good idea or is in a good position to base his next film off of the success of Obsession, or do you think he should just be like, bam, something completely different, not tied whatsoever, no Easter eggs, nothing? What say you?
I think Easter eggs are only really sort of appropriate or sort of satisfying if they kind of like really work within the framework of like the original world that it's alluding to for the most part. So I don't want it to be to where his next film or project leans too heavily on the success of of Obsession and all that stuff. I would very much like everything to sort of kind of feel fresh and kind of have its own little sort of like microsystem of an environment or whatever to kind of work through and all. So like obviously if it fits with his next film to reference Obsession, like maybe there's like a news article or like a TV segment or something like that that kind of comes on during a scene in his new film or whatever that is kind of alluding to the events of Obsession,
Hmm.
and it works because the narrative of this next film is the same or kind of touches on that same supernatural element, then I think that's cool. I think people will appreciate that. I just don't put them in just for the sake of putting it in there just to kind of make it seem like it's an extended universe, because then you run into the whole issue of like, okay, you set the stage already of like people are going to expect this in your next films to where it's like, oh, okay, this is interconnected with this film, or it's not going to be interconnected but this one, but because of this reason, it gets a little bit too confusing for people. um and that works in some cases, doesn't work in others. Like if they want to go with this in the same way of like thinking about a long-term franchise, then sure, go ahead and do that. But if you want every movie to sort of feel special and not be so tied to a previous project, then tone that down a little bit, temper it so that it's not an expectation that people are looking for in a film instead of just enjoying the film for what it is. Uh
True.
that's kind of how I feel about that. So uh, but no, I mean, I'm excited for the next one there. As long as he can make it nice and original, hopefully he can, catch lightning in the bottle again with this one. But he's already kind of set it up already. There's he has a new following, he has new fans. I think his next one will be a pretty good one to follow through.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right on that. And I mean, considering what he was able to do with a $750,000 budget, imagine what he's going to be able to do now with, I don't even know what type of budget they would give him. I mean, I'm going to guess somewhere upwards in the tens of millions potentially because
5 million.
I mean, just saying, it's going to be, it really opened up the possibilities for this young director. Um, to see what his next big idea is going to be. So, kudos to him. So, that's going to wrap up what we've been watching. And that is actually going to tie directly into our first topic here, though, because with the success that Curry Barker has been able to enjoy with his Obsession movie hitting, I think now like probably 400 million or so globally on a modest budget of 750,000. And I say that in Hollywood terms. There's nothing modest about $750,000,
Yeah.
folks. But in terms of Hollywood, yeah, that's a very modest budget actually. Um, it it's not surprising to see that Hollywood is treating this like the gold rush of San Francisco or whatever back in the day because they're mining for gold basically. There's gold in them dar hills, and them dar hills are referring to YouTube itself because Hollywood is basically on the search for its next breakout internet-born horror franchise. And the big player in this game that has come out along with a couple of others and was able to secure the to was able to win a bidding war on to basically make a film off of a very popular YouTube series called The Mandela Catalog is none other than Amblin Entertainment Steven Spielberg, who some people might be wondering, Steven Spielberg horror. This seems a little like, I don't know. I thought he was more I don't know, family entertainment, what else? Extraterrestrial, not just a clever topic there. Literally, E.T. was the name of his big hit. Um, and you wouldn't be wrong. And then of course there was Jurassic Park, so there was that. Um, to see him putting his stamp on something in terms of the world of horror, well, for those of you that forgot, there was a little movie called Poltergeist that came out that he was involved in as well. That was a pretty big successful horror movie for back in the 80s. So at first, you kind of read that name like Steven Spielberg is, well, you know what? Two things. Number one, is there money involved? Yes, there's money to be made. So to me, that's a smart investment. And number two, horror isn't exactly something that is foreign to him. I would be very interested to see how his influence is involved in this, because he would be coming in as I believe a producer in this, as they are actually keeping the original creator of this series, the Mandela Catalog, to write and direct, I believe, named Alex Kister, I believe is how
Hmm.
you say it.
Yeah.
He's going to remain creatively involved as the writer and director for this project. But it goes to show you that this is now what, the third or fourth thing that we see of recent history in terms of YouTube, and we're not even talking about the previous ones of shorts that were turned into movies as well, such as that movie. What was it? The one with the I think it was called Lights Out. That was one of the earliest ones that I can attribute back to YouTube for being turned into a feature film, feature horror film. But you know what? I'm drawing a blank on the director of who it's David something, right? I could be wrong. Do you know the director of is it Lights Out? Is it Lights Out? Do you know the
It's
horror
lights out. Yeah, I can't think of the director's name.
Yeah, I kind of set myself up for failure on that one. But you know what? We live in a remarkable age, and I am going to cheat right now and look it up. Let's see. Lights Out director. Lights Out director is, I hate it when you put the one thing on there and then it shows you like everything else. Like, oh, you want to know the director? Let's show you all of the cast that came out in this movie with no mention of the director whatsoever. And then you're forced to do like I'm doing right now and stall for time. Um, David Sandberg. Yeah, I was like, I knew it was David something. Um, if I'm not mistaken, was David Sandberg on YouTube as well? Was that his short, and then or was he just a director that got selected to turn that movie, adapt it into a film?
I don't think he was like the same creator.
No, right? Okay, then let's see. Originally, you know what? Whatever. As far as David Sandberg, I think you're right. I think Lights Out was a short film that was adapted from someone else earlier on. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then I'm right. But that was one of the earliest examples that I could think of in terms of YouTube, though, being a launch pad, well, maybe not a launch pad, but a place that you can look for your next hit, basically. You can go fishing there and eventually you're going to catch something pretty good. Now it's getting a little bit more propelled because there's more of a type of, almost, dare I say it, sure thing in a sense with some of these creators, because like I said before in the intro or in the beginning of this story, there's already a baked in audience with this. So you're not really taking a shot on something that, oh, this looks pretty good. Like in the case of perhaps Lights Out, where somebody saw it, it looked like it was like a 15-minute movie or something like that, but it got a lot of attention, and then it got turned into a film in 2016, which, 10 years ago. And here we are now, but technology has come so far in terms of being able to allow creators to come up with these amazing special effects, and they're able to do things now that they weren't able to do back in the day, and make quality films and be able to capture an audience. Because as I understand it, I think this Mandela catalog has like 100 million views or something along those lines. So I think it's safe to say, yeah, it's a successful little anthology series that has a pretty good audience attached to it, and will more than likely show up at the theaters to be able to support this. And if you keep reporting on stories like this, directors and turning out hits like Obsession and Backrooms and whatnot, that's just going to further increase new general audiences that maybe didn't know anything of this existed. And then they're like, you know what? I'm curious. I want to check this out. So yeah, it's safe to say why Steven Spielberg probably saw the writing on the wall and was like, you know what? I think this is a good idea. And along with other 11 bidders on this, he wasn't alone. So I don't know. Is this type of story, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Mandela catalog as well. Is this type of story, do you think, Matthias, setting up YouTube to be the next, like, I don't know, gold rush basically of Hollywood? Like, we're going to be going there, mining, trying to find, and then look under every rock and all of that to find the next big thing. And also, if you do think it is, do you think that that will take away the significance of it, that will lessen the impact that we normally get from something like this when it's one every, I don't know, one out of 100 instead of, I don't know, 99 out of 100 type deal? Because then at that point, they're not all going to be hits. What do you
Mhm.
think?
I think with this, it's just you're seeing this shift from looking into non-traditional spaces for content and for talent, I feel. So instead of like the usual route of like, going to film school, you make a small film, you put it at a festival, and you kind of get the response from that and then see how that builds. I think now because of just how so involved our lives are with social media, where a lot of people are on Facebook, a lot of people are on Instagram, a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of people on YouTube, and people that are actively, instead of looking at traditional media like, television shows or cable, even streaming to some degree, a lot of people are getting a lot of their entertainment from very short order segments or films or what have you in episodes through YouTube or through Instagram or through TikTok, really. So it's about Hollywood seeing that shift of people wanting smaller segments of entertainments and stuff like that. So it only makes sense to start looking for the creators of those, like, whether it's horror, whether it's like action, whether it's comedy or whatever, to look at those people who are creating these things and thinking, okay, if this person had access to the actual tools available in the Hollywood machine and given a budget, what they're used to, like let's say a couple $1,000 to then all of a sudden balloon to almost close to 1 million or what have you, what can they achieve for us? And I think that's what we're seeing now is that this is a mine for them now. It is something to where they're looking at it, they're looking at those views overall and seeing how that's going to translate into ticket sales and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But it's a double-edged sword. As much as I definitely like this new movement of having, content creators and YouTubers get their time in the sun to create large scale projects or to create just new stories and all that stuff, but with the help of Hollywood, I'm like 100%. That's super cool. We should see more of that. But now I fear that what's gonna end up happening is that there's gonna be a lot of people that are probably gonna start flooding YouTube with their own projects and start thinking to themselves, "Okay, this is the time for me to make it big and do this." And of course, that's cool. That's totally fine. If you wanna pour your heart and soul and to be like the next, uh, Curry Barker or be the next, Kane Parsons, you should be allowed to do that. But then I feel like you are losing that specialty of it, and you're losing that sort of novelty as you're kinda going into that. And I think there will be a point, probably not anytime soon, but maybe within half a decade to a decade, there's gonna be just a lot of, like, just maybe 20% gold and then 80% just crap on YouTube and stuff like that, because there's gonna be so many people that are gonna just try to make it big and try to sort of be the next big thing, and it's just gonna flood the market with that. And I think as much as we're seeing that the studios are getting involved and they're starting, they're bidding with all this stuff, you guys need to tone it down maybe just a little bit so that you're not having it be where, you know, where our environment of like watching stuff on YouTube or, Instagram or TikTok is just all of a sudden fully saturated with just stuff that just doesn't make any sense or just things that are just trying way too hard to be the next big horror thing or the next big sci-fi thing. So
Hmm.
yeah, we'll see. But as far as the Mandela catalog here, I've actually never seen an episode, nor have I really even heard about it here. But apparently from, like, what I looked up and all stuff, like, this is still kinda in the same realm as, like, Backrooms and Local
Hmm.
58 in terms of it kinda coming in that same sort of framework and time as those two other horror pieces kind of came in as well too. So I think part of the allure of that is that yeah, it is very much in that same sort of wavelength as Backrooms, and we're kind of seeing how the success of that has kind of been achieved thus far too with its release. So, but did you find anything else beyond like what the Mandela catalog is, or like what it's essentially about?
Yeah, so from what I saw in my research, it's basically okay. So, and I'll read it here. The story follows humanity's struggle against terrifying shape-shifting entities known as alternates, whose psychological manipulation and religious imagery have helped distinguish the series within the analog horror genre. So, it sounds interesting at the very least. I mean, I know that was kind of like a brief little explanation there as far as what it is, but even from that little bit there, I mean, I'm interested. I'm probably gonna go back in the same way that you've got producers and companies that are probably now going into YouTube and looking for things like this. Now I'm a little bit more motivated to do the same. So is that also going to increase again? Like now, as audience members, we're going to go into this and start. You know what? I want to find the next thing. Almost like like metalcore or heavy metal bands. Back in the day, you wanted to find that one band that nobody else knew about type of deal because that's what makes it unique and special. But then the moment they get big, they're a sellout. But
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, hey, man, make money. Get out there and try to do the best you can. Don't sell out. Buy in. I guess is a good way of putting it. But it kind of does motivate me to want to go out there and find the next thing. Or books. Same thing with people with avid readers who find that one novel that they really love, and then they find out it's going to get adapted to a screenplay and then or a movie, and then everybody can enjoy it. You kind of feel like, oh, but this was better when it was just small time. But then at the
Hmm.
same time, if you really are a fan of the work, you're also happy for the director because they're putting in a ton of work. Like the podcast that we do is has a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, a lot of editing, a lot of like special whatever, blah blah blah, and promoting and all this stuff. We're small time. I mean, we're a small time little show. Like I maybe like 10 listeners or so. I don't know, maybe more, hopefully. Um, we're talking about people putting on productions and doing these full length films. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice a lot. This is a side thing for me. I love doing it. It's a hobby. I mean, if we were to make it big, that'd be amazing. Hey, great. Hit like and subscribe, folks. Make my dreams come true. Um, but if we don't, we don't. It is what it is. But I'm doing this because I love talking about movies, and it's just a fun thing that I've always wanted to do. So here we are. But that's why I'm happy when people like Curry Barker or now Kane Parsons get massive success because they are the ones that are sacrificing everything that they can to be able to make their dreams come true and follow their passions and everything. So I'm happy to see that kind of success. But it also makes me wonder, and it kind of transition to or pivot a little bit, same category, but a slightly different take is now that we're basically, dare I say it, in the YouTube IP era for the most part, how does this affect how long before, and maybe this is speculation, I don't know. Maybe this is above my knowledge base. How long before Google wants to get involved in something like this? Because Google does own YouTube. So, how long before they're noticing, okay, wait, we want a piece of this as well? We're going to have new creators sign on the dotted line here. We own a portion of your work.
Yeah.
I could definitely see a world where Google comes in and they're like, nope, we want a little bit of this. I don't think that they would fully go into the movie business. I think that there's way too much involved in something like that. I mean, the one that would have had a great opportunity to do that would have been Netflix, obviously. So I don't think it would be that. But at the same time, if you can be like, oh yeah, sure, you can get this movie, but we own the rights to all of these properties because they were created and promoted on our platform. Or maybe they start charging a fee for promoting YouTube in some way if you're going to put your original works on there like that. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I'm willing to bet they're trying to figure something out, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year, or maybe by next year, we get a story. One of the ones that we're going to be reporting on pretty soon is going to be like, well, this just in, Google is in the movie business now. Maybe not in the traditional sense, but partner behind the scenes type of deal. I don't know because why not? because everyone's trying to make their money, basically. Trying everyone's trying to get paid at the end of the day, realistically. So I don't know. I think best of luck to this new work that's going to be coming out. Alex Kister with the Mandela catalog. I will be definitely checking that out on YouTube to start kind of watching it, see what it's all about, so that I can just get that much more geared up for when the movie comes out and whatnot. Um, and I hope it all works out for him. But I guess time's gonna tell, as we often say on this show. But to transition out of that and go into another story, the next story that we're going to be talking about involves a man named Keanu Reeves who just, man, I don't know. It's like every time you think he's out, he comes back with something else. And then all of a sudden, he's just like a major player again. I guess the lesson learned would be like, don't ever think that Keanu Reeves is down and out, because eventually he's going to be casted for the right thing and then take off another launch pad for his career, or Keanu Reeves renaissance, as it were. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, we had what back in the day, he came back with The Matrix and did his run. Before that, it was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and then The Matrix allowed him to, and then Speed. I'm sorry. So there was like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Then he did Speed, uh, not the drug. And then I'm like, then he did Speed, and then I feel like I need to clarify there. Um, and then after that, he came back. He was out for a while, and then he comes back and he does the Matrix, and launches that part of his career. And then after the Matrix, he's out for a while, and then comes back with John Wick, and then so on and so forth. And then he just does these like little random things, and because his name is attached, it just makes that much more of an impact. And the last thing that he did that is partly related to the story is he came out in Toy Story 4 as a character in there. I think it was Duke Kaboom, I believe was his name.
Yeah.
And it was so out of left field. I don't know, like, because he has a very recognizable voice. So hearing him in this in a Toy Story film was, I don't know, it just worked out really well. I thought it was a nice touch to that movie that I feel like only his type of aesthetic could bring to that character. And then he comes out in a couple of other things. He does some comedies too. He did that movie where he's an angel, with Aziz Ansari, I believe, and Seth Rogen. Forgot the name of that movie, but it wasn't a great one, but it was worth a watch. It's pretty funny. And then he does Sonic, and he's going to be doing Sonic 4 as well, coming up, playing the voice of Shadow. So, needless to say, he's gotten some credits to being able to voice some characters. Well, speaking of Toy Story 4, he's going to be reuniting with the director of Toy Story 4, Josh Cooley, in another Lego movie. And he's not going to be coming in as a special character. He's going to be leading and starring in this, and it's going to be a live action CG hybrid, from what I understand. That's going to be coming out somewhere down the line. I don't have the exact date. I might check it on my notes a little later, maybe 2027 or so. Um, I'm interested. I liked the Lego movies. They're fun movies. They kind of waned out a little bit towards the end. Maybe they just, people just lost interest. I don't know. Maybe the plots got a little lazier. I don't know. The first one was really good. Lego Batman, I really enjoyed. Then they did some ninja one, which I didn't. Then they did part 2 to the original Lego movie that came out, and that one was okay, but it started to fizzle out. But you put Keanu Reeves' star power behind this and a pretty good story, and this is technically going to be the launching of this universe for Universal, I believe, because they were able to secure the rights in 2020. And I think that they're going to put everything that they have into this, especially with this being a hybrid live action CG. But I don't know, what's your reaction, and what's your take on this news, Matthias?
I mean, I'll give it a shot. I mean, with Keanu Reeves attached to stuff, I mean, he's in that era where I feel he doesn't. I'm not going to say he doesn't need the money, but I feel like he finds himself in projects and all stuff where he kind of feels like, okay, this will be fun to do. I don't think it's anything in the sense where he's like, oh, I want to be in this thing because I want to win an Oscar, or I want to, be a part of a franchise that's gonna last forever. So I don't think that's his motivation now. Like in his older age, I think he very much is just like, "Yeah, this sounds cool, and it's gonna buy me a new car. Let's go ahead and do it." And I think that's not a bad motivation to do things,
Agreed.
sometimes that's all that matters. It's like, "Hey, if this is gonna buy you your next boat or car, so be it." And with
Yeah, it's
something
the only
like
reason I do the
this,
show.
yeah. And with something like Lego and all that stuff, I mean, everybody knows what Lego is, and I would hope, likes to play with Legos. I mean, when I was a kid, Legos was my big thing. But what interests me about this, I think, the most, there's no real plot details yet, so we don't know like what the
Mhm.
story or narrative or whatever it's going to be. But having it be a mix of live action and CGI animation or what have you, that's pretty cool. Like, I feel you can get really clever with something like that. Like, I don't know if it's going to be in the same sort of realm as like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or maybe something like in like kind of like Minecraft-ish or whatever in a sense, but I can see it be really interesting. The idea that I had in my mind first off was let it be like, yes, you have Keanu Reeves there, he's all 100%, practical human and all that stuff, but have it be to where he is essentially building sets of some of his greatest movies. So it's like him building a set of The Matrix, him building a set of uh I mean, it's an idea, okay? Hey, Hollywood,
No, no, I was smiling because I was actually like Grinch smiling that, like starting to smile going up. I'm like, yes, that's a great idea. But you know what?
Yeah.
Here's the one thing, and I hate to be the person to burst your bubble, because I think that is a good idea. The problem would be, I guess they would have to think of a way to be able to do like a Matrix type thing without having to pay Warner Brothers anything for it,
Yeah.
the rights to that. But other than that, yes, I think that they could probably do something that's like Matrix adjacent and do it. But
Mhm.
I do like that idea. That'd be pretty fun. That'd be a pretty cool thing to see, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's a concept and all that stuff that I think 'cause, I mean, they are getting into where, they're building sets or whatever, like, it's not where Lego itself is just, "Okay, it's all Legos and all that stuff, build whatever the hell you want." But
Mhm.
they do where you know, they do sets for like, okay, here's something from Star Wars, here's something from Avatar, here's something from Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. Like they branched out from when I was a kid to now to where it's like, man, they're attaching to every single like universe of stuff now. It's like you can get
Yeah.
yourself a Lego set of anything that you've ever watched, as a kid or now or whatever. It's like if you want to buy yourself, $1,000 set or whatever, it's like you can now because they
Yeah.
just have that pull of like everybody kind of wants to have their own Lego set essentially. So as far as like how that's going to be applied into this, I mean, we don't know, but I mean, I think there is something there in terms of like having his films or sort of like having an action film or whatever kind of where it is alluding to, like, roles that he's done in the past or whatever, whether that's Speed or Point Break or whatever. I think it's gonna kinda be something in that vein, or at least I would like to see it to be, in that kinda sort of context because it's an interesting concept. That's the only thing I can think of. As far as any other any other things that I can think of in terms of how this could be played out, I don't know. I don't have any other ideas aside from that, so I'm sorry, Hollywood. I only have one good idea, and that's it.
It's I don't know. It's like I'm interested in this, but I'm also concerned about this. And the reason being is because number one, they are going to have a big challenge on their hands to see if they can repeat the same magic that Warner Brothers had when they owned the Lego licenses. I guess they didn't renew, obviously, and it was up for the bid, and Universal secured that in 2020. But here we are. I believe it was 2020. Let me double check that. Yeah, 2020, Universal acquired the Lego film rights. So it's been 6 years now, and from what I understand, they're kind of in the same situation as Sony with the Spider-Man rights, where they have to produce a film every so often, which is probably why we've gotten some bad Spider-Man, related films adjacent, like unfortunately, Craven the Hunter, and then Morbius. Although I still contest Morbius wasn't that bad. I don't know, like maybe it's because it came
It
out of
was.
here. I don't know. I guess it's I was entertained. I'm not gonna sit here and die on that hill to defend it, but I think it was okay. It was I enjoyed it more than Craven the Hunter. Put it to you that way. I enjoyed it
Mm.
more than Madam Web, which I know doesn't really help this argument any. That's the bar I'm setting, but to me, to this day, I want to say that's the worst superhero film I've ever seen, which was Madam Web. But I also want to be careful because there might be some other ones. Ghost Rider Part Two, potentially. I'm looking at you. But maybe one of these days we can talk about the top 10 worst superhero movies of all time. It's just an idea.
That'd be a good
Um,
one.
but it makes me a little nervous because I think that they're approaching the time frame or time limit for them to potentially lose the rights to this. And I'm wondering if this is an act of desperation and they have they're just doing it just to do it, or is this because, you know what, we have a really great idea. We've had these rights for a while, but we feel confident about what we're going to do and we're going to move forward with it. I don't know. What do you think, Matthias? Desperation, act of desperation, or are you giving them the benefit of the doubt?
I mean, when you put it in that sort of way, I think, yeah, I mean, that could fall into the whole like hole of like, well, we're just gonna have him, sit in a studio and we're gonna have Lego stuff happen around him, and hopefully people like that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Josh Cooley, I mean, Toy Story 4 was cool. Transformers 1 was also a really good movie. Unfortunately, it just didn't get like the limelight that I think it deserved, just because I feel
Yeah.
marketing really kind of uh misconstrued the tone of that movie. But the past is in the past. Uh yeah, I think with this one, I don't know. It just really depends on like what they're gonna do with it there. Again, I always kind of like when movies do a little bit more of an interesting take in terms of like combining live action with CGI or whatever. Like sometimes that's kind of
Hmm.
cool and it allows for like a lot of interesting interactions really between like characters that do and don't exist, I guess, within a practical world. So I don't know. We'll see whenever they drop a trailer or whatever, or if they want to give us like more context as to like what this movie actually is about, then we can make a decision based on that information. But we don't have that just yet.
Yeah, I guess time's gonna tell with that one, honestly. I have high hopes for it. I enjoy those movies. The first one was really good. The Lego movie. It just had a great story. It's just very well executed at the end of the day. But we'll see if Universal can pull out another win for themselves. But that said, speaking of nostalgia, were you a fan? I don't know. Maybe no, I can't even. I don't know. Were you a fan? Because were you a fan of the Magic School Bus? Unless you really grew up in that era, I don't imagine you being a 15-year-old kid going like, "Man, I just love the Magic School Bus." At that point in your life, I could be wrong. No judgment here for anybody, but uh, so this was from what I understood, developed in 1986 originally. So it's right in that era for millennials to remember this, which I do qualify as a millennial who does remember this, but I never watched it. I wasn't really that interested in it. I don't know if it was because by the time I don't know. I was gonna say by the time I was of age or whatever to appreciate something like that. I don't know. I just didn't. Bottom line, it didn't appeal to me. And I'm kind of surprised that they're going to be doing this franchise and turning it into bringing it to the big screen with Elizabeth Banks set to play the teacher Miss Frizzle in a live action adaptation. So it's not going to be a CGI, which I don't really know if there's a good or bad idea for this or approach. And I believe her company is also going to be one of the producers on this. I'm not that excited about this, but it has my curiosity. And the reason I say is because we kind of get a couple of different versions with Elizabeth with an actress like Elizabeth Banks. You get the appearance in a movie like Slither. You get her portrayal of Rita Repulsa in the Power Rangers movie, which I contest was they were onto something there. They were actually onto something there in that Power Rangers film. The way she played Rita Repulsa was like I don't know. It was good. It started off good and then it just kind of fell off. But overall, I thought that she was able to really portray her in a way that like paid homage to the original, but also was her own thing. And kind of almost borderline made it a little bit more young adult themed in a way versus the original audience for that, which is like myself when I was like, I don't know, 8, 9, or 10 years old or whatever. So you bring her in and you have that element, so she's familiar with working like on things like that. But then she's also done some raunchy comedies. She did that movie with Seth Rogen. I think it was Zach and Mary Make a Porn, I think. And
Yeah.
that movie was definitely raunchy, and it was it, she has range because she can go into something like that, and there's just she's hilarious and she's like really fun. She has this like unique presence. I don't know about her that just like helps her with these line deliveries and these situations that she finds herself in that film that are really funny. And then you have her as her directorial debut and do I believe it was her debut doing a movie like Cocaine Bear. So to see her associated with the Magic School Bus makes me wonder, is this going to be family friendly type of property, or is this going to be like the Magic School Bus but not like this Magic School Bus that you remember? Like maybe a
Mm.
little bit more of a comedy that's a little more adult theme or adult what do you call it? Young adult themed. Like maybe not like uh I don't know, like a super bad type of film, but I don't know what something a little below that would be, but that's what this would be, what category this would fall in. Because I feel like something like the Magic School Bus, you're either all in on the family friendly film or you have to go, I don't know, maybe you kind of need to do this appeal to older millennials. We're going to show you something that you remember as a kid, but it's not going to be the one that you remember. It's not going to be like horribly bad or anything, but it's just they're probably going to be like cursing or something, or I say cursing like that. It's an adult thing to curse. I mean, like there's going to be more, I don't know, situations, I guess, because at the end of the day, they were taking this bus to miniature size and like flying up people's like noses and whatnot and exploring, I think, the body and the heart and all that stuff. I feel like there's a lot of jokes that could happen with that if you go that route. I don't know. That's just me. I think that's what I was trying to like gear at. And if it was announced that they were going to do something like that and they do it right and it's actually funny, because nothing's worse than a movie that tries to be funny that isn't funny. The jokes just don't land. I've made jokes that don't land, believe me, folks. It's not a good feeling. So if they were to do something like that, it might have a little bit more of my attention. If they go family friendly with it, then you know what? It's a movie that I'll probably take my niece and nephew to or something to check out. Maybe see if they can appreciate it. I don't know. What's your opinion on this news, Matthias?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel feel like Hollywood's running out of ideas, man.
Also
And
that.
I feel like this is happening. So one of the things that made the Magical School Bus, I think, really impactful and all stuff is that it was an edutainment kind of TV
Yes.
series. It was supposed to. It's not wasn't just supposed to be straight out like, okay, here's something for kids to watch, on Saturday morning, and just be bombarded by explosions and action and all that stuff. Nothing like in the level of like Dragon Ball Z or something like that. It's like no, it's like this was supposed to teach kids about the world that they're living in. It's supposed to teach them anatomy or nature or space and stuff like that. And I feel that if they're going to do a live action of this and they don't include any of those educational elements, then they totally just miss the point of this.
Hmm.
That being said, if they're not playing this as like a straight sort of like beat by beat kind of like adaptation of this and all stuff and just kind of making it like kind of like this crazy comedy, not in the realm of like super bad, but maybe something, in between, as you kind of said, like almost like an SNL skit version of it or whatever,
Yeah,
then
that's a good
maybe,
point.
then just maybe I can see that working. And the reason I was laughing, I was laughing because I was thinking of situations to where like they'll go inside like somebody's body or whatever, and like the bus itself like starts expanding or something like that, like just and it's like, "Oh, no," it's like this guy is gonna, like, turn into a bus or whatever, it's gonna have, like, a bus-shaped, like, arm or something like that
Okay.
that's just stuck there. I don't know, just my mind was going to, like, just random things, but, yeah, with this, I don't know, it's just I don't know, first off, why. I don't think anybody really is looking for this. I mean, they've already tried the whole reboot/sequel series for Netflix, that had Kate McKinnon in it, which from what I heard, I think it was okay, but it didn't really move the needle in terms of like people saying, "Yeah, that's what we've been wanting, more Magic School Bus."
Mm,
uh, yeah, I don't know where you go with this really. You do have Rob Letterman attached to it, which he did Shark Tale and like the recent like Goosebumps live action films and Detective Pikachu. So not a bad person to kind of adapt this, I feel. So I don't know. This is one of those things where I don't think it's really gonna go anywhere. But if it goes into the territory of like this film is so bad it's good, which I kind of feeling like even though I haven't seen a single damn thing of this, obviously,
hmm
I feel it's gonna lean into that that niche of being that type of thing. And if it does, that's cool. I'll buy that. But yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. I wasn't a big fan of Magic School Bus. They put it on whenever I was in school. Sometimes the teachers about stuff, but I wasn't like, wow, this is my favorite thing. I really wish they make a live action of this when I'm older. you know,
Yeah.
I, it's something I never would have thought of. So that's my take.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you know what? I was just sitting the other day, just thinking to myself, what would be amazing to see now? The Magic School Bus. Let's just bring that back. Uh, I mean, to answer well, to maybe more so use your topic or your bringing up the Kate McKinnon. I didn't even know that existed. So there you go. I
Uh,
didn't even know that that was something that actually happened. Uh, so I guess maybe that kind of, I don't know, use that as a general audience type of deal. I mean, here I am actually reporting on stuff like this. Never heard of anything. I didn't even know Kate McKinnon was involved in anything uh related to the Magic School Bus, but you know, I guess it happened and it's faded away. And if that ends up happening with this movie, then that's unfortunate because but also it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. Because the other thing that recently was based on nostalgia that flopped horribly bad was He-Man. And
yeah,
it kind of makes you wonder, like, how do we, how does Hollywood adapt things that they're pulling from millennials' nostalgia? Because they have to be careful because it's not a guaranteed hit. Transformers was a huge hit back in the day when it first came out. And I actually recently been rewatching those movies. I saw part one and part two, and they were done so well. They were really, really good films. Just all in all, I don't know if you can pull from nostalgia as often as they're doing. And seeing something like this with the Magic School Bus now, if it fails, then maybe that's going to be one of those markers. Like, okay, I don't know what property we seize next or what we're going to do next, but let's figure it out. I guess I don't really know because I'm kind of the mindset. Let's leave the nostalgia in the past for a little bit. Let's not do Thundercats because He-Man did not do very well. I don't think Thundercats would do very well. And I say that because that's the only other one that I could think of that they haven't done yet. But at the same time, there's been a lot of people. I say that it's like I talk to like a network of people that are just like, "Hey, where's Thundercats?" But that's my general consensus because I feel like that's the one IP from the past that does have a pretty big following, cult following even, that hasn't been adapted yet. So I don't know. Maybe they're waiting to see how Magic School Bus does, and then they're gonna be like, "All right, yep, Magic School Bus succeeded. Let's go ahead and do Thundercats now." I don't know. I
honestly,
guess
I would watch a Thundercats one if they try to do that, but kind of keep it in that sort of like '80s hair metal kind of tone and stuff like that. I I think I'd be down for that.
that'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. But I don't know. After seeing the turnout of He-Man, that's a cautionary tale because
Yeah,
wow, it's just I haven't seen the movie yet. I want to check it out and see exactly what went wrong. Same way with Supergirl as well. Kind of want to give my own analysis of that.
which is
Uh,
hitting video on demand very soon.
oh, I'm sure coming to a video on demand near you very soon,
Yeah,
probably
the
tomorrow.
28th, the 28th actually of this of the end of this month.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. Uh, oh well, what are you gonna do, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But with that down, that's gonna bring us to our last story here. And speaking of nostalgia, the hits just keep on coming, ladies and gentlemen, because Mike Myers, not Michael Myers, has confirmed that well, there is going to be an Austin Powers 4, that it is actually happening. Mind you, this is just his confirmation. The cameras are not rolling yet on this. So take it with a grain of salt because I think he said the same thing potentially in 2011. I think from what I came across at one point, I saw a story from back then that was like, hey, Mike Myers announces Austin Powers 4 is happening. Here we are. Uh, quite a bit of, more than what, 15 years later or so. Um, and we're getting the same news. That said, he did just recently come out as Dr. Evil in a Verizon Wireless commercial that was pretty good and kind of reminded audiences, and my opinion is kind of testing the waters to see, is there still an appeal for this? Does the public still think this is funny? And you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place in a way because there aren't very many comedies that are coming out right now. But also digging into the past, as we've just been talking about, and bringing something back hasn't really been too successful. Now, granted, each type of category of film is its own thing in terms of horror, comedy, action, drama, and what have you. But it hasn't really been boding well on major successes. I'm kind of interested in this because I want to see if they're going to adapt. I want to see if they're going to be able to adapt a new story for this generation, but also still kind of pay homage to the original. But I don't know. I guess time is going to tell. What's your opinion on this, Matthias? Do you think that Mike Myers moving forward with an Austin Powers 4 is a good thing, or do you feel like I don't think we needed it because the last one that came out was in 2002? What say?
Oof. Yeah, so I remember like a long time ago, Jay Roach, who is the franchise director of Austin Powers, was
Mhm,
like back in 2020 that there was like plans on getting a fourth film started, but what he really wanted is that he wanted Mike Myers to be involved with a good reason and the story behind it, and even Mike Myers himself said that if they were ever to revisit that franchise, like they wanted it to be more of a focus on like Doctor Evil's character and kind of going
mhm.
into like his backstory and kind of a little bit more of, just make it more about that character than the, Austin Powers character here. I remember seeing the new Verizon ad and I was like, you know what, this is cool. It's funny. I like seeing all these characters back. So you had Seth Green come back as Scott Evil. You had Mindy Serling as Frau Farbenisa as well too in the commercial too. And I was like, this could work. Like obviously it's a commercial. It's a couple minutes long. And I was like, I dig this. Like, if they wanted to turn this into a full length feature, I think I would be there for it. But I think my whole thing with this, and it kind of leads into how Scary Movie 6 has done, and also how the Naked Gun reboot has done, to where I think there is a place for that type of comedy or that kind of is harkening back to, stuff from like the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I don't see it being something to where it's gonna catch that same acclaim as like Happy Gilmore 2 did. Because I feel like Happy Gilmore 2 is like the the unicorn of this whole situation in terms of like having a franchise come back with a new story, but with the relatively same cast of characters. Does it still hold resonance with the general public? And I think Happy Gilmore 2 is like the best example of that in terms of it being commercially and also critically acclaimed. Well, not acclaimed, but at least loved and enjoyed. Whereas something like the Naked Gun reboot and Scary Movie 6 is kind of very much on the low end to where it's meh at best. As far as like how this goes, I don't know really because
Mhm.
because Austin Powers very much the comedy that was present in those films is, unfortunately outdated really by a good bit. As far as how do they adapt that to a newer audience, to a whole new world, that's for a team of, great comedy writers and a director to decide how they want to do that. Would I want to see it? Yeah. I would like to for them to just take a crack at it and just see if it has any legs of any kind, but that's all going to be really dependent on how they approach this and then of course if it even happens, Mike Myers says yes, of course, but that yes could be a year, 3 years. Who knows, like how far out we are from an actual movie,
It's
and if they
true.
even want to go that way. So yeah, I don't know. Um, the commercial was cool. You know, I saw it during one of the World Cup matches, and I was like, "That's cool." Uh, that's all really I have. I don't know, like, where else to really go with this in terms of like, well, it's a movie that's gonna happen. So hopefully or hopefully not.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It kind of makes me think of it and approach it from another way though, because you named a few movies there. You said Happy Gilmore 2, which made me think of Grown Ups Part 3, which also made me think of the story of 21 or 24 Jump Street that's going to be coming out, which also made me think of Scary Movie 6 and The Naked Gun. Those are 5 comedy films that are digging back to the past because I'll be honest, and we've said this before, I don't think this generation has decided what they think is funny yet. I collectively, there hasn't really been an era, a new comedy era that has been defined as, okay, this is the humor of this generation, of this era.
Yeah,
I don't know. That said, horror is a different story. There has been a voice for horror, which I'm very happy about. Like seeing like we're like the story that we just discussed without going back too much into like obsession and backrooms and whatnot. But comedy is kind of left out to dry right now. I don't know why that is. I'm curious to see because there hasn't really been a solid funny movie that has just come out that just made me like fall on the ground laughing. You know, the last time I laughed a lot at a movie was actually, oh god, I just realized the movie with, Jennifer Lawrence that I can never freaking remember the name. Uh,
hard feelings.
yes. God, my wife is gonna laugh or be so upset at me when she reads this because she's like, "Why do you never remember that movie? You always" anyways, uh, yeah, that was, like, the last funny movie that I saw that I don't know. It was surprising because, like I said, it was Jennifer Lawrence in a comedic role, but it worked. Like she was pretty funny, and it was just funny situations, and that's it. I can't really recall. I mean, yeah, Scary Movie 6, I guess, but again, that I haven't seen it yet, and again, you're going back to the past. But there hasn't really been a definitive movement going for this generation in terms of comedy, at least not in the cinematic way. This generation has been all about reels and videos and short form content, not really attributed to that. I don't know. Attention spans, maybe? I have no idea. There will probably be a study on this later on down the line or something like that. But it's just a curious thing to say, and I'm not honestly, I'm bringing it up, and I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm not like suggesting a solution. I'm not like, yeah, because this and that or X, Y, and Z. It's just an observation that I've made recently, and it's part of the reason that we keep getting these trips down memory lane and nostalgia, bringing these things back because I feel like audiences nowadays haven't decided what they think is funny, so they're gonna go back in terms of this category of film genre of film and pull in money from the millennial crowd. Because I feel like Gen Z just hasn't adapted to this yet. I don't know. It could be a number of things, could be one thing, but I don't know. What's your opinion on that, Matthias? Any thoughts or anything?
No, I think you're touching on something there where I feel because of just everything of that whole sense of immediacy that you get from like looking at a reel or like a meme or whatever. I think that has kind of maybe changed up how we kind of see comedy now to where we don't have well, I want to say myself because I really don't really put myself in the group of like, this new generation, but that whole sense of like the buildup of a joke and the framing of a joke to where it takes a little bit of, structure and a little bit of timing and all that stuff there. I just feel like this generation doesn't really have it in them to kind of like really pay attention. And I know this sounds very much like a philosophy of like these damn kids these days, are ruining comedy. Like it's not that at all. It's just I feel because of just how much, technology and social media has kind of changed people's minds in terms of their attention spans and like how they view things just in general. I mean, I just feel comedy is kind of like the one of the harsher elements to sort of really adapt to that social media element that people are kind of invested in nowadays, to where yeah, you're seeing the only comedies that are coming out nowadays are just are from existing franchises or whatever that have long been, in the shadows and are deciding to come out with another iteration again.
Mm,
I can't think of anything that's an original comedy nowadays where, A, it exists, or B, that it's has been marked as successful, or like, hey, there's this comedy that just came out. You need to watch it right now. I haven't heard a sentence like that come out from anybody at all.
yeah.
You hear it with horror, as you said, but you don't hear it with comedy. So I don't know. I think, yeah, I think we're in that weird spot now to where comedy it's not a monolith really. It's a weird abstract concept nowadays. And I don't know when it's gonna get figured out. I don't think it's anytime soon. I think it's something maybe down the line. I hope so or whatever. But yeah, right now it's just I can't even tell you like what anybody nowadays really thinks is funny. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you got something there. I think we're just dinosaurs, Damien.
Yeah, there's also an approach. People are I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess time's gonna tell when it comes down to that because I don't know. Maybe it's and maybe I'm overlooking things. Maybe there are things that are out that I've just overlooked because they don't appeal to me and I don't find them funny. It could be that, you know. Maybe I'm not opening myself up to newer experiences in terms of what's out there. And I'm not saying that they don't exist, but maybe what I'm referring to is general audiences in terms of comedy, not niche movies that come out that, a small segment of people find, very hilarious or entertaining. Cause I'm sure those exist for sure. So when I mention it, I'm more so talking about on a general audiences type of appeal, like we
Mhm.
just talked about with Austin Powers, with Super Bad, with Mike Judge films, things like that. I guess I don't know. When it hits, it'll hit, and if it does, and everybody else thinks it's hilarious, and I don't, then I think you are right. Maybe at that point we are those dinosaurs that don't get it anymore. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to think of a better explanation than that. But all right, folks. And just like that, our time is up. But as always, we want to thank you all for listening to us, whether it be on your day off or your commute to work. We appreciate you taking the time to hit download or push play on your device. We also want to remind you, if you're not already, follow us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at Second Way to Kill a Werewolf, where we encourage you to share your thoughts and opinions on the many, many posts that we put up. Also, if you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit like and subscribe right now. Seriously, just do it. Drop what you're doing. Well, no, don't drop what you're doing. If you're watching this, like, keep watching, but also do two things at once and just hit like and subscribe. But seriously, it really does help us out more than you could ever know if you do that, as well as sharing this show with a friend. So that plea out of the way, I'm Damien,
And I'm Matthias.
and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.